Athletics.
Track in Britain for the Pearl Assurance National Indoor Championships. Hello, good afternoon to you. We're having a couple of bites at the cherry here today. We're with you till the results service in just an hour's time. And then at 5:15 you rejoin us here at COSFORD for the climax of these National Indoor Championships. Well, I'm delighted to say that both of Britain's gold medalists from last week's European Indoors in Glasgow are here in COSFORD. There's Linford Christie. He's got a magnificent record in these championships. He's just about unbeatable at the moment. In Athens on Wednesday, Christie won the hottest 60 metres of the indoor season. Emo, Mark Witherspoon, the Italian Pavoni, all in the field. Christie the winner, 6:51, equaling the European record. Colin Jackson is the holder of the hurdles title. He defends it. It could be his only indoor run of the year. Tony Jarrett's been treading the board successfully since his silver in Auckland. Facing Jackson, though, is a huge test. A COSFORD debut for Tom McKean, the pride of Scotland and high on confidence. McKean, the new European Indoor 800 champion. British record holder Dalton Grant, Commonwealth record holder Nick Saunders renew a fierce rivalry in the high jump. And there's Merle Notty, the great Jamaican sprinter, quite simply the fastest lady in the world. Well, Steve Abett is with us as always. Steve, let's talk first of all about Colin Jackson. Yeah. Good to see him out here on the boards this afternoon.
It is good. We didn't see him in the European Indoors, but he's already had the semi-finals and he looked awesome in that. He's just broke the track record, equalled the championship best performance, so in the final we're expecting something very special from him, really.
Just a word from you about the state the athletes are in at the moment. I get the impression that the Commonwealth Games in Auckland has taken a little bit out of them.
Well, I think that can be the case, can't it? I mean, it's a bit like coming back from a holiday. Everybody feels a bit anticlimactic after that. And I think the athletes are the same. They've come back after the euphoria of coming home, seeing your parents and your friends. Obviously, you go down psychologically, and I think some of them are suffering quite badly from that. But others seem to be still quite buoyant. So we've got the two sides of the coin, really.
Well, one of those who very definitely isn't suffering at the moment is Linford Christie. He's almost got that unbeatable air about him, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's terrific at the moment, Linford, and we just saw a European record from him in the week. He, I think, thrives on the sort of atmosphere that he has with his home crowds here at COSFORD and at Glasgow. And he's going from strength to strength. It's always a long season for Linford, but it doesn't seem to sort of tarnish his performance.
Yeah, that's right, Steve. Well, let's have a look at Linford Christie now. He ran a unique sprint double in these championships last year. Let's take a look at how he's been going in the semi-finals with Alan Parry.
Well, Linford Christie, the new European Indoor champion, of course, with a marvellous record in these championships, lined up in lane 3 in the first semi-final. Obviously the hot favourite to win the title. He slipped slightly coming out of his block and complained later that there was a bit of a hole in the track there in lane 3, which made him twist his ankle, but still obviously sailing through behind the winner, Stephen Gookey, in the green vest, last year's 3A's junior champion for 100 metres. A big moment for him. Steve?
Great casual from Linford there, wasn't it? I mean, I hope he knew the qualifying performance, because I think it was just the first two, and he left it so casual there that he almost got edged out into third place, and we might not have had him in the final, which would have been ridiculous. But yes, I think there is a problem with that lane. It has got its dips. I mean, COSFORD now is maybe feeling its age slightly, but having said that, Linford was very, very casual there. He's got second, so that's got him through to the final, but only just.
In the second semi-final, a lot of interest in the performance of the man in the red vest in lane 3, Nigel Walker, one of our foremost sprint hurdlers. But Nigel Walker not going too well this time, and Ray Burke in the stripes, winning in 6.81, and quite a family coincidence coming up. Ray Burke is actually the uncle of our new young outstanding sprint talent, Jason Livingston, who ran in the third semi-final. Courtney Rumbold taking second place behind Ray Burke, and Nigel Walker failing to qualify, with only 2 men going through in each of these races to the final.
Well, Ray Burke gave a sterling performance there. I mean, he was out of the blocks like a bullet. Walker, I think, is staggering here in lane 3 in the middle of the the picture. He really isn't into any sort of form at the moment. Burke edging away slightly now. It's quite a strong, powerful little runner, and I think the 60-metre distance suits him well. But Walker, obviously, in his early season form, is starting to fade slightly here. Burke's made the final quite comfortable in the end, but it's going to be a tough race.
Now watch for the tiny figure in lane 3, all in red, of Jason Livingston, Ray Burke's nephew. Always away very quickly, this youngster who made the European Indoor Championship final in his first big senior international meeting, and a very impressive winner in a new personal best, 6.69, a very determined and competitive little man, 18 years old only. Models himself on Ben Johnson in terms of his running style, and has posters and videos of his great hero at home, and what a prospect he is, Steve.
Looks good, doesn't he? I'd love to see a bit of aggression. And Jason Livingston's certainly got plenty of that. He really does psych himself up before the start, and he really is a powerhouse of a runner at a very young age. And at the beginning.
So there we are, quite some prospect to look forward to in the final of these 60 metres, Livingston, Christie and the rest.
And now, but while we await that with a great deal of interest, here is the lineup for the women's 800 metres. Just 2 British internationals in this lineup. Dawn Gandy, wearing number 7, will be the favourite. 5th one down there. And Mary Kitson, last year's winner, laning up 2nd. She'll be wearing number 9. Also in the lineup, Paula Fryer of Sale Harriers, age 20, who competed in the World Junior Championships in 1988 when she was a semi-finalist. Alana Cook of Stretford on the inside. Then Mary Kitson, Dawn Gandy, Paula Fryer, Liz Francis, Alison Stone and Hayley Donoghue of Swansea on the outside. It's been a slightly disappointing entry in many of the events in these championships, and that's particularly true, I think, for the women's middle distance runs. Of course, at this time of year, many of the runners preparing to concentrate on cross-country and getting ready for the track season. And Dawn Gandy, number 7, not really wanting to take it up, running level there with number 9, Mary Kitson. Coming round on the outside, number 4, Liz Francis of Swansea. Oh, and a faller there. A little bit of trouble. Collapsing to the track, and Steve, I suppose we often do that, see this bumping in the 800-metre races.
Well, I think they did, because I think, unfortunately, our girls do tend to bunch very, very quickly after they break, and they're not getting at sufficient speed to stretch anybody out.
So there we are, 32.61. It was Alison Stone of Woking who was the unfortunate there to trip on another faller there. Dear, oh dear, Mary Kitson, last year's champion, fell. So that leaves Dawn Gandy really out on her own there with Alana Cook, number 2. Some now 10 metres behind as Mary Kitson tries to get back into the race, but it's going to be a forlorn struggle because she's some 40 metres down. It's Dawn Gandy really out on her own, 1 minute 3.34.
Well, I mean, it's a case of really who can stay on their feet the longest may get the rest of the medals at the moment. Dawn Gandy, I think, has taken ample opportunity here to use the misfortunes of others to her benefit. She's really is striding out. The other girls, whether they fell or were pushed or shoved, are suffering badly from that now. And Dawn is, what, looking at it now, 30 yards clear with only a lap to go, and she really is stretching away. 30 yards clear. In second place, number 4, Liz Francis. But it's certainly Gandy as she comes up to the bell now, 1:33.77. Clear favourite, of course, to win this race, even if there hadn't been any accidents. And the one possible challenger, Mary Kitson, was unlucky enough to fail. Dawn Gandy really going very well indeed now. And storming clear, a long way ahead of Paula Fryer of Sale, then Liz Francis in second place, and coming up behind her, Alana Cook of Stretford. But coming around the final bend now, it's all Dawn Gandy, who won the 400-metre title 3 years ago, this event in 1988, and she's going to take another Women's 3A's indoor title by a big margin indeed. And Gandy it is, from Alana Cook in second place, Liz Francis in third place. And no real doubt about that. Dawn Gandy, the very clear winner in a race that was really a problem one with 2 bad falls there in the early stages. So, Dawn Gandy, nonetheless, very delighted to have taken the title there, Steve. Yes, a slow time, though. I think that, obviously, with the sort of bumping and boring and people falling over there, it must have interfered with their concentration. But I think these girls are going to sort things out now.
I tell you what, it hurts when you fall on this stuff as well. David Sharp broke a bone in his arm when he took that tumble in the European Indoors in Glasgow. last week. But now all attention switches to the final of the men's 60 metres and to Linford Christie. His coach Ron Rodden's been telling me that Linford's hardly trained since his triumph in Auckland. 6:51 though in Athens in the week, equaling the European record. Let's check his form in the final.
Yes, Linford Christie, obviously the world's best sprinter of the moment. Here's the full lineup. Courtney Rumbold in lane 1, Stephen Gookey in lane 2. Actually had the honour of beating Linford in that semi-final. Just Jason Livingston, the 18-year-old talent from Croydon, in lane 3. Then Linford Christie in 4, Ray Burke in 5, Darren Braithwaite in 6th. I think there can be little doubt that Linford Christie is favourite to become the first man for 21 years to retain his title. The big interest, perhaps, is in the performance of Jason Livingston, the 18-year-old revelation there in lane 3, whose reward, incidentally, for reaching the European Indoor Championship final last week was to actually lose his job. His employers were unhappy at the time he took off, only a couple of days, though. And he's away very well indeed, Livingston, and in fact, he's heading Christie at the moment. This could be a real sensation. Christie coming through, though, and what an effortless win that was in the end. For Linford Christie, he'll be the first to shake the hand of the youngster, though, who pushed him all the way at the start of that race, and Livingston was a clear silver medalist behind the winner, Linford Christie. Darren Braithwaite got 3rd. So the European Indoor Champion retains his title as British Indoor Champion, but in the man alongside him there, the little fellow in red, Steve, we really have unearthed the talent.
Well, I think he's going to be a man to watch, isn't he? He's so aggressive, this Livingston. And but at the end there, I mean, give credit to Linford Christie. He really did show his class over the last 20 metres of this race, because he was behind, and quite considerably behind here. Livingston got a tremendous bullet-like start, punchy sort of style, digging away here. Linford, in comparison, so smooth and relaxed on his outside there, and it's that sort of smooth power that pulled away in the last 20 metres. Hand in the air, I think, at least 10 metres before the finish.
Christie the champion, Livingston the pretender to the crown, perhaps.
And the result has come through to confirm that. 6.61 for Christie, Livingston 6.67, and Braithwaite 6.75 in 3rd place.
Well done, Linford. I can't wait to see him tomorrow week here in COSFORD against the best sprinters from America and the Soviet Union. See that one on ITV. ITV tomorrow week at 6 p.m. But now our attention switches to the men's high jump. Dalton Grant going for Britain. A lot of competition, though, from Nick Saunders, the Bermudan.
Yes, Nick Saunders had a great competition with Dalton Grant in the Commonwealth Games, and now he's contesting against him in the Trieste Championship, the bar at 2.25 meters. Here's Saunders on the 2nd attempt. Yes, he's the first man to go clear. Both he and Dalton Grant, and also Warren Caswell, had failures on the 1st attempt, and now Nick Saunders goes clear. Just incidentally, Warren Caswell had a personal best at 2:20 on the 3rd attempt. Both Saunders and Grant clearing the 1st attempt. Saunders is safely clear. We'll wait to see what Grant can do later. But earlier this morning we had a number of the field events, and here was Stewart Faulkner going in the men's long jump. This is his 2nd round jump. He'd started with a 7.60 meters. That took the early lead from Fred Sal, 7.50, 2nd round. And a tremendous performance by Stewart Faulkner, who was really a little bit disappointing in the European Indoor Championships last weekend. We'd expected him to challenge for a medal. As it was, he got stuck in a groove at around the mid-770s, having set a British record at 8.05 in Seville early in the week. But today he was back in form, and this was a very fine jump indeed, his best ever at COSFORD, hitting that board absolutely perfectly, as we can see from the inset picture there, to hit the sand at 7.94 meters. So a tremendous performance there by Stewart Faulkner, the Birchfield Harrier, who'd already removed Lynn Davies' long-standing, or then Barrington Williams had improved it, British record to 8.05 early this year. But he had good competition from Fred Sal, who competed for England when he won the silver medal in the 1986 Commonwealth Games, now represents his native Cameroons in international competition, but he still competes for Shaftesbury Barnet Harriers and indeed works in the City of London, so he really has never left us, even though he does represent Cameroons. He'd started well and improved there to 7.75 meters. Doesn't look all that happy about it, but in fact it's his best jump for quite some time, and is giving Stewart Faulkner a good battle in the long jump. Looking again at Fred Sal. 25 years of age, and he's competed in the World Championships, the Olympic Games, and in the African Championships. now for the Cameroons. And that also was a second round jump, so the position at that stage was Faulkner leading at 7.94 and Fred Sal 7.75. Faulkner went on, he had another 7.90 and a couple of no jumps, but his best was yet to come, as we'll see. Asking there for the crowd who following this attempt very closely to clap him down the runway, and they are responding to that. People have said in the past that the run up here at Crystal Palace is not particularly fast, and perhaps that shows even more why this was such a fine performance. Look at that 8-metre line, very close indeed to that. The British record, Barrington Williams 8.05, which he achieved in a small meeting at COSFORD 1989. Barrington, who's not competing today in these championships. And Stewart Faulkner became the second British athlete to exceed 8 metres here at COSFORD with this jump. He had nothing to spare on that, so it was absolutely perfect, and it was measured over 8 metres. 8 metres 3. Tremendous performance by Stewart Faulkner. What a pity he didn't do better than that in Glasgow last week, when it would have mattered for a possibility of a medal, because if in that sort of form he would have been up there, as 3 men in Glasgow had jumped over 8 metres, and now Stewart Faulkner was over that today. 8.03. Really good to see Stewart back in action, and he'll be a contender for a medal in the European Championships outdoors this year, we hope. And there's the result. Faulkner the winner, Fred Sal second, and Gordon Lane of the USA was in third place at 7 metres 73. Now then, we've seen Saunders go over 2.25. Dalton Grant failed on his second attempt. So, last attempt for Dalton Grant. Warren Caswell has also gone out, failed 2.25. Grant's got to do this if he's going to beat Saunders. He's still in the competition, but remember, that was his third attempt, and Saunders cleared on his second attempt. So if he's going to win this, Grant will have to go even higher in the high jump. But for the moment, he's shown yet again that ability to produce the clutch performance, clearing it on his third attempt, last possible chance, and he does it. So he'll be tired from a lot of competitions this year, but he's still able to produce his best when it matters. Really not, well, there was a fair bit to spare then. Saunders, in fact, had just tickled the bar. Grant cleared it more closely. It doesn't matter. In both cases, the bar stayed on.
Back on the track, we're getting ready for the final of the men's 400 metres. Just 4 competitors. George Fraser going in lane 1. Gary Cadogan, lane 2. One of the big stars of the meeting, internationally speaking, Danny Harris from the United States of America in lane 3. Kermit Bentham from Thames Valley Harriers in lane 4. The holder of this championship, Phil Brown, is amongst many of our top 400-metre men in Britain at the moment who are either injured or unavailable for other reasons. Derek Redmond's had an operation on an injured toe in December. He's recovering. Roger Black in the United States training. Phil Brown in hospital this week for another check on his hamstring injury. Peter Crampton's got back problems. What a story. George Fraser will line up in lane 1, the Loughborough student, all in white, 23, from Sandwell Athletics Club. He's a Scottish and Great Britain junior international. In lane 2, Gary Cadogan, who I thought ran pretty well last week in the European indoor teams. In fact, he clocked a personal best, 47.28 in the semi-finals of the European Championships, and certainly didn't disgrace the British vest. And he's had a good indoor season. Gary Cadogan runs in lane 2, the Haringey athlete. But alongside him, in lane 3, from the United States, the world and Olympic silver medalist at 400 metres hurdles, the 24-year-old from California, Danny Harris, an outstanding junior, several world junior records, he said. He was also a very good American footballer, and he had a choice of careers, opted for track and field. He was the man who broke the longest winning streak in the history of athletics. The 122 successive wins by Ed Moses were ended by this man back in 1987. And completing the lineup, the 29-year-old Thames Valley Harrier, Kermit Bentham, appearing in his 3rd national indoor final. His best placing so far was 3rd in 1988. But Harris of America in lane 3, obviously the favourite to win here. .400 metres, 2 laps of the track, and they break from lanes at the bell. Harris on a pretty prolonged European tour, looking to sharpen up his speed during the winter with these flat 400-metre races. Hasn't had it all his own way there at the start. The two British athletes on either side of him, both running strongly. Gary Cadogan all in black, the Haringey athlete, just behind Harris, who reaches the bell in 22.29.
That was a good run from him, really. He's almost running the 400 like a middle distance race. He speeds up, slows down, is able to control the race, and that's a sign of a true international athlete. But Gary Cadogan behind is digging in hard, so it's going to be a fair old race from him at the end, Alan.
Cadogan's really put it in round that final bend. He'll certainly win the domestic battle, but Danny Harris of the United States is the new 3A's indoor champion. 46.74. Cadogan was second, Kermit Bentham third, and that's a new championship best performance by Danny Harris, removing the previous mark of 46.83 set by Todd Bennett. Remarkable to think that Danny Harris didn't even make the American 1988 Olympic Games team. Ed Moses, Andre Phillips and Kevin Young were the three representatives. He just failed to make it in the US trials. Steve?
Well, that was a good run, a very commanding type of run from Danny Harris. I mean, as I said, it must be very difficult if you're a sprinter to be able to speed up on command, slow down, treat the race like a tactical affair rather than an all-out sprint. And that's exactly what Danny Harris did there. He eased round the first 200 metres, moved into the right place and just really kept everybody at bay. And to break the championship best performance and doing that is just an indication of the calibre of the man. Gary Cadogan, as you see in second place, slightly losing his form over the last 100 metres. This is a shame because I thought he was running well up until then. Dies a bit at the finish, but still a good run from him, I think.
Harris first, Cadogan second, Bentham third.
Meanwhile, back on the high jump, bar is at 2:31, just Saunders and Grant, but both have had two failures. So it's Nick Saunders at 2:31. Remember, he won the Commonwealth Games with a new Commonwealth record outdoors at 2:36, Grant 2:34. No, today Saunders can't manage it, so he'll have to wait and see whether Grant can clear on his third attempt. If not, Saunders will win on the countback. Saunders, who's got a tremendous reputation of producing his best in the big championships. This isn't really quite such a big one for him, but he'd wanted to beat Grant, but he may yet do that. Meanwhile, we've got in the arena, we've got the triple jump in action at the moment. Fairly low caliber triple jump field with the lead held by Aquaboa at 15:07. And this is Derek Brown of Belgrave Harriers, who's lying second at 14 metres 88, so a little bit below his best. But unfortunately, none of our top triple jumpers are competing today. Vernon Samuels had entered, but he's not competing. Francis Agyapong, who's perhaps the favourite, has had 4 no jumps, or 3 no jumps rather so far, as they're now in the 4th round. So I have to say this is a little bit below par with no Edwards and no Herbert either. This was Derek Brown of Belgrave Harriers, who has a chance of a national championships medal for the first time. And the distance, yes, it's improved a little bit, 14 metres 91. There they are, Derek Brown into second place in the triple jump. But plenty more action here at COSFORD, so join us again after this break.
Whether you prefer your savings to have the high interest and instant access of NatWest Special Reserve, or the superb returns of Crown Reserve, every nest egg has a glorious future at NatWest. Let NatWest go to work on your savings.
Ever thought what would happen if two journalists with completely opposing views were to write on exactly the same paper? Well, now you can find out. Because Julie Burchell and Sir John Juner both write in the Mail on Sunday.
Do you know what I hate about Sundays?
Brussels sprouts.
Mondays. That's what I hate about Sundays, knowing it's Monday the day after. How can you relax knowing you've got to go to work the next day? I hate it, don't you?
Not really, no.
Why is that then?
I've retired.
Will you have the clout of a Prudential pension in your 50s? Prudential. We explain and arrange more personal pensions than anybody else.
Ecco, a tutte le ore, sempre, ma sempre qua. Vediamo qua. Vediamo qua. Ecco qua.
It's good to know that Halifax Building Society is offering special rates on mortgages of £60,000 or more.
Did you get it?
We hope that makes a lot of people a little happier.
Yahoo!
Thank you.
Been on the sunbed then?
No.
Then why's your light Philadelphia gone pink?
New light Philadelphia with salmon.
And welcome back to the Pearl Assurance National Indoor Championships. We've seen Linford Christie win the 60 metres title very confidently. Now it's the women's 60 metres final. Bev Kinch, remember her last week at the European Indoors, pulling up thinking she heard the recall gun when it was in fact the men's shot crashing to the floor? Well, Bev Kinch, the national record holder, has a chance to make amends here now. Let's call in Peter Matthews.
Yes, Bev Kinch certainly looking very determined indeed to put the memory of Glasgow well behind her. And I must say she's looked in very, very fine form indeed in the heats and the semi-finals, where she ran a time of 7.24, her fastest for some time. Bev Kinch, who won this title 4 times before, and 83, 4, 6 and 7, determined to do well in a good lineup. In lane 1 is Samantha Farquharson, the very promising 20-year-old Croydon Harrier hurdler. Carmen Smart, who ran for Wales in the Commonwealth Games. Stephanie Douglas, who set a personal best of 7.28 behind Kinch in the semis. Bev Kinch, Phyllis Smith, who won the other semi-final in a personal best 7.39, and Karen Campbell of Essex Ladies. So the likely medalists, the runners in the middle. Beverly Kinch certainly looking in outstanding form in the preliminary rounds. Stephanie Douglas chased her hard before and will want to do so again. Often comes out of her blocks very fast indeed. And look too for Phyllis Smith, who's got the strength to come through at the end of the race well. All away very cleanly, and Bev Kinch certainly straightened her running. Stephanie Douglas behind us, but it's the powerful Kinch in the middle. Kinch it does, who comes through to take it. Stephanie Douglas in second place, and another good time there for Bev Kinch. 7.27 for her. Carmen Smart, I think it was, who came up to take third place. So a 5th national 60-metre title for Bev Kinch. She also won the long jump back in 1982. And Steve, it's good to see Bev Kinch back in good form and certainly putting the memories of Glasgow behind her.
That's right. I think that was a fairly aggressive run there from Bev Kinch, because at one stage I think she was slightly behind, and she really had to dig hard, work really hard with her arms to push herself forward there. And you can see her in the middle of the pitch. She is really gritting her teeth at this particular stage to push herself forward, arms driving hard. She's not really that far in front at the moment where she can ease off. She really is diving at the line even now. And look how close that is to Stephanie Douglas. It's going to be a photo, but I think we can safely say that Beverly's got the actual result in the end.
I think she did a lot, but certainly looking at the replay, Douglas was closer than I expected. And another fine run for Douglas, who must again have got very close to a personal best of 7.28.
Yeah, I think that Beverly really was struggling hard there, and Stephanie was relaxing into the line, so that made the difference, but it was very, very close.
Really pleased for Bev Kinch. I just hope she stays healthy and produces what she's capable of throughout this year. Well, now the women's high jump. A lot of excitement we've seen here today and the arrival of a big new talent.
Yes, it was a marvellous competition. British women's high jumping has been going through a bit of a low patch recently, but this was a really good competition. First of all, we pick up Julie Major, clearing 1.83 meters on her third attempt. She'd come into this competition with a personal best of 1.79. She improved that to 1.80, and now she moved up to 1.83 meters. So tremendous performance there for the 19-year-old Julie Major, congratulated there by Julia Bennett, the 19-year-old from Epsom and Ewell, who probably the favourite for this event. It was very encouraging competition indeed, because in fact 6 of the first 7 competitors set indoor personal bests. Michelle Wheeler and Kelly Mason and Wendy McDonald had all gone over 1.80. And there was Julie Major of Basildon clearing 1.83. And we saw obviously just how pleased she was at that, and well she might. 2 personal bests for her in these Women's 3As Championships. With the bar at 1.83, 2 others cleared, Kerry Roberts and Julia Bennett. Here's Julia Bennett attempting a personal best of 1.86. Beautiful, sailed majestically over, and for Julia, who was very disappointed only to have managed 1.80 meters in the European Indoor Championships last week. She was 15th place there. 1.80, in fact, has become a standard for her. She did that in no less than 23 competitions last year, 4 indoors this year, but new personal best there at 1.86, and it looked at that stage as if there was more to come, and the delighted Julia Bennett of Epsom and Ewell, the club incidentally in its centenary year this year, on her way to win the indoor title, and retain the title in fact, because she won the title indoors last year as well. And a beautiful clear run so far at that stage of the competition. Kerry Roberts of Brighton Hove had failed twice at 1.86, having matched her indoor best of 1.83, her third attempt. And the bar wobbles hard, but she goes over, so that's 2 of them, both Bennett and Roberts, with personal bests. And for Roberts, that's an overall best because it exceeded her outdoor best of 1.85. Kerry Roberts, who comes from Litchley in Sussex, and a fine performance indeed, because her indoor best before this competition was 1.80 meters. And it's encouraging to see, although perhaps not yet really up in the top world standards, which is in the mid-190s, that British women, these youngsters, are beginning to improve and to challenge hard. So Roberts over 1.86, as had Julia Bennett earlier. Julia Major wasn't able to clear that height, so she had to settle for third at 1.83. But look at that, Julia Bennett had also cleared 1.89 on her second attempt, now attempts 1.92. And does it. 3 personal bests in 1 competition. That's the second best by a British athlete indoors all time, just behind the British record of 1.94 set by Anna Davies. And Julia Bennett just cannot believe, it seems, what's happening to her today. Julia, coached by Ron Murray, who's had so much experience of coaching the top British high jumpers for many, many years. He's watching today. He's absolutely thrilled as well. And it really is tremendous performance, because to come and set 3 successive personal bests in a major championship is a really outstanding achievement. And certainly for the moment, it's the performance of the championships for me, so far at least. You see the bar wobbling hard there. But Julia, a delighted clearance. She went on to try 1.95, a British record, couldn't manage that, but her work was well and truly done. And there's the confirmation of the results. Bennett the winner, Roberts second, Major third, and personal best for all 3 of them.
Julia, very well done. You surprised a lot of people here, and just looking at your face on the last jump there, Peter thought you might have surprised yourself as well.
Yes, I did.
Why did it all click for you here today? I mean, is it something that's happened very suddenly for you, or have you been edging gradually closer to those sorts of marks?
I've had a really good indoor season so far, and I was just extra relaxed today. Against people from the own country, and so it's just really relaxed, and everybody that's out there. So
right, but to improve it, what, 7 centimetres? I mean, that's a massive amount, isn't it?
It's really good.
Tell me a bit about yourself and how seriously, perhaps, you're taking this game of athletics, because you'll be a new name and a new face to a lot of people on ITV.
Well, I've done athletics since I was 10 years old, and I started high jump at 14 years old. And I went to Ron Murray, who's at Crystal Palace when I was 16. And it's just taken it from there, and I've just improved every year. and started weight training this year, which really has helped. I'm here today.
I mean, the 190 mark, it's quite a barrier, isn't it? And you've sailed through it here today. Psychologically, how important is that for you?
Well, beforehand, 188 was like my barrier, but we didn't touch that today. We went from 86 to 89, so my barrier wasn't there. And so 89 came and I was like really pleased. And so I was just on a high for 92.
And 2 meters, which you have to get up and around to be absolutely world class. I mean, do you think in the future you might be up around that mark?
I don't know. I hope, you know, I just really hope to do well.
Well, it's a great day for you here today. Peter described it as the performance of the meeting, and I know the sponsors, Pearl Assurance, will have you in mind when they choose the athlete of the meeting. Very well done indeed. Terrific, Judy. Well done. So some great stuff in the women's high jump. We're going to check now on the men's high jump, and that means Dalton Grant.
Well, thanks, Jim. And this is Dalton's last chance. We've seen Nick Saunders fail. Grant's behind on the count back. He needs to clear now. Fails, and in fact that means that Dalton Grant is still yet to win a 3A's indoor title. 3 times he's been second, 4 times now he's been second. Disappointment there, going across to shake the hand of Nick Saunders. It'll be Saunders first, Grant second, both having cleared 225. Well, we know they're both men who are capable of clearing 10 centimetres higher. They've both been competing a great deal, of course, both outdoors at the Commonwealth Games and indoors all over Europe. But Dalton, you can see, was really very disappointed because he certainly wanted to beat his great rival, who's perhaps just got the edge on him in the win-loss record over the years. Dalton will want to catch that up as soon as possible. There it is then. Saunders first, Grant second, and Warren Caswell, a personal best, in third place at 2 meters 20.
8 men on the track for the final of the 1500 metres. The leading overseas competitor in the lineup, CHRISTIE, the 25-year-old Kenyan who won the World Student Games gold medal last year, but didn't get into the Kenyan team for the Commonwealth Games in Auckland. Such is the depth of their middle distance talent. The full lineup: CHRISTIE, Andrew Geddes from Crewe, Alistair Curry from Newham Essex Beagles, Jason Lobo from Leeds, Pat Mulhall from Gateshead, Tim Crossman from Woking, Tony Spellman from the City of Stoke Athletics Club, and Ian Manners from Highgate Harriers. 7.5 laps of the track. A British athlete, now the world record holder indoors in this event, Steve Cram, absent with a calf injury from this lineup. Peter Elliott, the new world record holder, with 3:34.21, and neither of them choosing to run here today. Elliott, who says his indoor season is over, though there's a rumour that he might be persuaded to run in the international match here next week. Cram still suffering from a calf injury he sustained indoors. The official just pointing out that they have to have their feet precisely behind that start line. And away they go. 7.5 laps of the track, remember. And the standard of entry perhaps not as high as in many recent years here. Indeed, that can be said for many of the events in these championships. It's rather a low-key 3A's indoor this time round, probably due to the fact that many of our top athletes, having peaked, of course, for the Commonwealth Games, held this time in the winter because they were down in the southern hemisphere, have decided not to have an extended indoor season. And into the lead goes CHRISTIE. Alongside him, the Irish international Tony Spellman in the green vest, and in blue in third place, Jason Lobo, the 20-year-old former 3A Youths outdoor champion. Steve, a bit disappointed, I think we all are, in the entry for this event this year. Always so often a blue-ribboned event, of course, for British athletes.
Yes, it is, but I think the overall championships are a bit low, and I think that's, as you said, one of the factors is that they're all coming back from the Commonwealth Games, most of our top athletes, and perhaps this isn't in their programme for the rest of the season. But I think the other thing is that it follows on from the European indoors, and so to come down into running your national championships after an event like that doesn't really hold the enthusiasm or the interest of a majority of our athletes. So this is a fairly poor event in certain circumstances, and unfortunately that's just the way it happens this year. Other times we do get exceptional championships, but unfortunately this year very, very poor in some events.
62.37 the first 400 metres for the leader CHRISTIE. Jason Lobo, wearing number 10, still in second place, but moving through now into third, wearing number 7 in the pink-coloured shorts, is Andrew Geddes, who actually is the holder of this title and has been in good form as well this winter, as indeed has CHERUIYOT, who ran in and won a big race in Athens on Wednesday, the same meeting in which LINFORD CHRISTIE equalled the European record for 60 metres. So it's CHERUIYOT, Lobo and Geddes, the first three.
2-1 at the 800 metres. It's quite fast, not exceptionally fast, but I think CHERUIYOT's just stretching him out slightly. He's quite a fast finisher as well, so the other boys have got their work on their hands if they're going to get close to him. And as you say, he's in quite good shape, 3:39 already this year, and I don't think any of our boys can match that sort of form at the moment, but I hope they try and give him a bit of a race over the last 2 or 3 laps there.
Alistair Curry moving up now into 4th place, or 3rd rather. 2nd, in fact. He's really come through on that lap, now wearing number 4, the 24-year-old. Geddes has now dropped back into 3rd, and Lobo is 4th. The Irishman Spellman then in 5th place, and this time round they've got 2 laps to go. CHERUIYOT, a world and Olympic finalist, always a very, very wholehearted runner as well. He really gave his all even in the heats here last night, and you always get full value from him.
You do, and also Alistair Curry in 2nd place at number 4. He looks quite smooth at the moment, quite sprightly, not breathing too heavy, you can see, just hanging on in there. So maybe Alistair's going to put a bit of a surprise off here over the last lap.
And a big gap growing now between the leading 2 and the rest of the field as they reach the bell in 3:16. The gap growing even wider, in fact. A fine run this by Alistair Curry, who's twice been 3rd in these championships, so he's going to improve on that previous record, whatever else happens here. And he's really giving CHERUIYOT the chase. 3:30 at 1,400 metres. And CHERUIYOT stretches away off the final bend to win in expected style. But a good run by Alistair Curry for 2nd place. 3:44.12, the winning time. Tony Spellman came through for 3rd.
Yes, and I've clocked 3:45.3 for Alistair Curry, so nearly a second off his indoor best.
So the 2nd title goes to an overseas athlete. Having seen Danny Harris winning in the 400 metres, Kip CHERUIYOT gets the 1,500 metres title as well. And as I was saying during the race, 100%er, and he'll be just as pleased with that as with any other title he's won. Of course, the Kenyan athletes always love to come to Britain, which they still regard as the real home of middle distance running.
Yes, Kip CHERUIYOT, one of the best 1,500-metre men in the world, indoors or out. Had a good win in Athens in the week, and he's reproduced that form here. Well, these are the 2nd day of these National Indoor Championships, what I can only describe as the enthusiastic hardcore turned up here at COSFORD last night, and we've pieced together some of the best moments for you.
COSFORD is always a relaxed venue on occasions like this, offering athletes and spectators a unique opportunity to mingle. LINFORD CHRISTIE, the major target for autograph hunters, and how marvellous to see one of the world's greatest athletes support the championships and mix so well with his young fans. The same goes for high jumper Dalton Grant, a real Pied Piper figure as well. Dalton, as usual, in very relaxed mood before tackling today's event. Not sure about the cap, though, Dalton. The first title of the championships was won by number 10, Crawley's Debbie Peel in the 3,000 metres. 2nd, Elaine Foster. 3rd, Catherine Mijevic. Winning time, 9 minutes, 45 seconds.
Just one field final last night. That was the men's shot. Paul Edwards here was below his best, but his 17 metres 79 was easily enough to enable him to regain the title he'd won in 1988. Actually, the highlight for me of the event was down the field as 5th placed Richard Davies had 3 successive personal bests beyond 16 metres for the first time. There's no doubt the big 2, Edwards, and here the 2nd placers, Matt Simpson, were the class of the event. Simpson was also below his best. He put 17 metres 26, exactly 1 metre below his personal best, but it was enough for him to get the 2nd place behind Edwards, with David Callaway 3rd at 16 metres 54.
Tom McKean was the biggest name on view in the heats of the 800 metres. Tom, fresh from his first major title in last week's European Indoor Championships, qualifying with ease for today's final on what was his first appearance at COSFORD. And disappointed, like the rest of us, at the failure of Billy Conchella, the great Kenyan runner, reigning outdoor world champion, far from his best after bronchial problems and going out in the heats.
Yeah, that's a big surprise, really. Billy Conchella has got a spot of asthma, doesn't really like running indoors, and out of today's final. You can see that when you rejoin us here at COSFORD around about 5:15. But I've been joined up here now by one of our emerging young sprinters, Jason Livingston, a silver medal behind Linford here today. I don't really want to talk to you about that race. I want to talk to you about last week and what happened to you before you were chosen to run for Britain for the first time in the European Indoor Championships. Tell us the story, Jason.
Well, I found out the news on Tuesday I've been selected to run for Britain, and I was really, really pleased. And I told my employers, and I said, well, okay, I'm going to need 2 days off, holiday, Friday and Monday. They said, okay. So on the Thursday, I was called up to my office by my manager, and she said to me, well, we're going to give you a warning for the amount of time you've been taking off. So I said, well, the time I've been taking off my athletics is coming out of my personal holiday. So she said, well, we feel you've been taking too much time, and you've used up all your holiday allowance, which wasn't true because I've still got 2 weeks left at my holiday to go on with the training. So I was told if I took 1 more day's holiday until like March the 1st till July, I'd be sacked. So I said, well, I've got 2 weeks booked off to go holiday, and I've got the Europeans this weekend. What can I do? So she goes, well, you do it at your own peril. So I ran for Britain, and on Monday when I got back, I found out I'd lost my job.
You probably don't want to name the guilty people. I'll name them, the Mechanical Copywriting Society, isn't it? I would think they're delighted what they've done for British sport. But really, how do you feel that you have been punished running for your country? You've been punished by your employers?
I mean, I find it really strange because I thought a company would have been proud to have a national athlete who's running for Britain in European Championships. I thought they'd be pleased for their publicity as well, but obviously I was wrong, and I think it's just really stupid for them as well.
I mean, for people watching, Jason, they might think there might be another story here. He hasn't been turning up for work. We've had problems with him before at work. I mean, was there any history like this at all to you losing your job?
No, there wasn't. I mean, we got on all right, and there's no complaints about my work, and all the time I've been taking was out of my personal holiday, so they've just done a complete U-turn on me, you know.
We don't often do this, I'd have to say, but it's a good opportunity for you now almost to sort of underline your own skills and perhaps get another job elsewhere. You do a touch on the old computers, don't you?
Yeah, I've done a little bit of VDU work, and yeah, I'm not bad. I'm not bad on it.
Right. Just tell us about your running. Let's talk about the race here before we leave you. I mean, you followed in LINFORD CHRISTIE. How far do you feel you can go in this sport?
I feel I can go very far because I work very hard for what I want to achieve, and I'm very, very determined, and I tend to go all the way.
I've got a bit of good news for you finally, that the sponsors here, Pearl Assurance and Unisys, who do a great job for us behind the scenes, they both want to talk to you about the possibility of a job.
Oh, well, that's brilliant. That's really, really good news, you know.
That's good.
Yeah.
I hope you get sorted out, and if they don't find employment for you, I'm sure there's some people out there who will get in touch with us at London Weekend Television, the athletics department there, and just drop us a line or give us a call. We'll find you something, Jason.
Thanks
don't
very
worry.
much.
Well done.
Thanks.
Okay, let's get back on the track, back in the action, the semi-final of the men's 60-metre hurdles. Just take a look at Colin Jackson in flying form here.
The lineup for the first semi-final of the men's 60 metres hurdles, with Colin Jackson, who looked in sensational form in the earlier round, drawn here in lane 3. Desmond Wilkinson, lane 1, Brett St. Louis in 2, Colin Jackson, lane 3, as I say, Hugh Teep, another Commonwealth finalist, in lane 4, Richard Harbour in lane 5, and Norman Ashman in lane 6. The first 3 in each heat will qualify for the final, and Jackson, on the form he displayed earlier today, will be hot favourite to win the title itself, and indeed I'm sure he's ready to post a really sensational time. Jackson absolutely floated over the hurdles in the earlier race, not away quite so impressively this time, but really forcing the pace again now. 7:51 his time, easy again, and you know there's a lot more to come, and when the pressure's on in the final, Colin Jackson, I'm sure, is going to produce something very special. Steve.
Yes, I get the feeling he's holding himself back slightly for the final. His start there, as you said, Alan, wasn't as good as it was in the heats. I think in the heats he wanted to just get out there and prove that he was in great shape and running well. The semi's obviously a bit of a lead up to the final, and I think he's just maybe easing down slightly. I mean, 7:51, if you can ease down for that sort of time, is still very impressive. But I think the final is what Colin's actually aiming for. He won't see 100% until then.
The lineup for the second semi-final of the men's 60 metres hurdles. Martin Nicholson goes in lane 1, David Humphreys in lane 2, Tony Jarrett lane 3, David Nelson lane 4. In lane 5 it's John Wallace, and Ayrton Harrison completes the lineup in lane 6. The favourites to qualify, obviously, Jarrett lane 3 and Nelson lane 4. 3 will go through to the final. Jarrett first to rise, Nelson going well on his inside, and it's Jarrett in the lead, Nelson second, those two well clear of the rest. 7.64 the winning time. So all three Commonwealth medalists, Jackson, Jarrett and Nelson, safely through to the final, and what a contest that promises to be.
Well, looking at the race again, the two that were destined to make the final made it fairly comfortably, I think, Alan, there. Tony Jarrett, I think, was trying quite hard here, I think, because I think he knew that with Nelson in the race, it was going to be fairly tough semi, so he wasn't easing off at all, but the final's going to be a pretty tough old race there.
Tough old race it is certainly going to be, that final. Colin Jackson against Tony Jarrett. Colin Jackson's been training in Canada with Ben Johnson, he tells me, and Johnson looking very slim, and he's all set for his comeback sometime in the middle of September. But you can see that final, the men's 60-metre hurdles final, here on ITV when you rejoin us. I think it's going live around about 5:15 or 5:20. Big event, that one. And also in the second slot, Tom McKean is going to be running here at COSFORD. But now we're going to look at one of the great characters of the meeting here. It's Judy Oakes in the women's shot, and I don't think Judy has lost here since back in 1976. Let's take a look at Judy now.
Look at Judy in just a moment. We start off with a look at her perennial, one of her perennial rivals, Yvonne Hansen-Naughty. Started with a couple of puts over 16 metres, and that one a bit further in the mid-16 region. It's we always expect the order to be 1 Judy Oakes, 2 Myrtle Orji, 3 Yvonne Hansen-Naughty. In fact, in the Commonwealth Games, Myrtle Orji not competing here due to a slight injury, took the gold medal. Yvonne Hansen-Naughty here was the bronze medalist, and Judy Oakes was the silver medalist. And today, Yvonne Hansen-Naughty in second place in the shot, an improvement, that one, to 16.43. But here is Judy, Britain's most prolific champion. Before today, she'd won no less than 10 women's 3As indoor title, also 9 outdoors, and that's a record that no other British athlete has ever achieved in the history of the sport. And in very fine form indeed here, and indeed if she'd managed to put as far as that in the Commonwealth Games, she would have won a gold medal. Today, 6 puts, all 6 over 18 metres, and this fourth round effort went out to 18 metres 55 for her 20th women's 3As title. She also won titles at British and world at powerlifting as well, and she really is a powerhouse of talent, Judy Oakes. She's threatened to retire once or twice, thank goodness she hasn't done that. She won her 4th Commonwealth medal in Auckland, disappointed of course that it was a silver behind Myrtle Orji, but she had got a Commonwealth gold back in 1982, and it's very good to see her competing so well in the sport. And in third place here was Maggie Lynes, Judy Oakes' clubmate at Croydon Harriers. Maggie Lynes, who was consistent over 15 metres and had a best of 15 metres 77, which was this put, in fact. And Maggie Lynes, for some while now, Britain's number 4 behind a big 3, and the usual order retained here. Maggie Lynes, coached like Judy Oakes by Mike Winch, who does such a fine job, as just done John Hillier in the South London region for British shot putters. So that was the order in the women's shot then. Judy Oakes winning her record 11th women's 3As indoor title. Tremendous performance there, 18 metres 55. Yvonne Hansen-Naughty of Hallamshire Harriers was in second place at 16 metres 43. And Maggie Lynes, Judy Oakes' Croydon Harriers teammate, in third place with 15 metres 77. So fine win there. Judy Oakes of Croydon Harriers, a 20th women's 3As title indoors and out. Also on, another champion here, Kim Hagger. Started a bit slowly, once under 6 metres, but came through gradually in the competition. Clearly the class of the event, and her best came at the end. The final round, Kim Hagger didn't really need to jump that far in order to win the title. Nice little consistent series there, ending with a couple of jumps over 6 metres 20. Karen Hambrook was in second place. Kim Hagger was disappointed not to be able to finish the heptathlon in Auckland Again, a stalwart of the British women's team, both in long jumping and in the hurdles and in the heptathlon now for many years since she first emerged as our #1 junior at the age of 16. 6 metres 28, the winning performance in the women's long jump for Kim Hagger of Essex Ladies. Second was Karen Hambrook in 6:07, and 17-year-old Jackie Harris of Wolverhampton and Bilston, the local club here, in third place.
Back on the track, the favourite for the men's 200 metres, Marcus Adam, prepares himself in lane 3 for the final. Marcus Adam, the new Commonwealth champion, just being introduced to the crowd. Also in the lineup here, one of Britain's representatives in the European Indoor Championships last week, Andy Carrott, outside, in fact, Marcus in lane 4. So let's have a look at the full lineup then for this men's 200 metres final. Nigel Will from the Cambridge and Coleridge Club. He's a student at Birmingham University, and in fact he's the university's champion. Martin Waldron from Wolverhampton and Bilston goes in lane 2. Marcus Adam in lane 3, and Andy Carrott, the Loughborough student, in lane 4. Nigel Will, Martin Waldron, the huge 22-year-old who ran a personal best in his heat, 21.95. Marcus Adam, who's been guarding a hamstring injury, and Andy Carrott outside him. But obviously a fully fit Marcus Adam would be a hot favourite to win here, and he's gone off very quickly indeed round that first turn, already reducing the gap between himself and Andy Carrott. But Carrott, number 3, there, is still running well. Marcus Adam has overtaken him, though, on the inside. It's going to be Marcus Adam from Andy Carrott. Martin Waldron takes third place. Nigel Will 4. 21.25 the time for Marcus Adam. And the man who's had a marvellous winter so far with a Commonwealth gold medal and a victory over Linford Christie now has a 3A's title. But he was telling me last night after his heat that this hamstring injury he collected in Auckland during the Commonwealth Games has just refused to go away, and at one stage he was thinking of not running at all here. Well, I think he's justified his decision to go ahead and compete. And although, once again, several of our top men were missing, John Regis having a low-key indoor season, Addy Maffey's only here as a spectator, Michael Rosswest not competing indoors at the moment, and Linford Christie, of course, just in the 60 metres, but Marcus has done the business.
Yeah, it's a shame that our boys didn't take part in that European indoors, because it was, I think that the 200 metres anyway, a fairly weak event. And we have got some very, very good talent at the moment. Marcus here disposing quite neatly of Andy Carrott on the outside. And when you consider that Andy actually made the final of those Europeans, it just shows you the class of someone like Marcus Adam. He probably could have eased round the Europeans and still won it quite easily. But I'm glad to see that his hamstring's clearing up a bit. I don't think he's at full throttle here, though, having said that. But if he can run these sort of performances, it's showing that his hamstring's clearing up, and it augurs well for the summer season.
So Marcus now has an indoor title to go with his 3A's outdoor title, and of course he had a very successful United Kingdom Championships last year when he won the sprint double. And here is one of the young men leading British sprinting to the fore. Marcus Adam, the winner.
And here's the pole vault. This is the winning performance, in fact, by Andy Ashurst, who was one of those people who was devastated by his performance in Auckland when in the swirling winds there he failed to clear his opening height in the pole vault. Today, however, no mistake about it, he wins his 4th 3A's title at a height that he's been consistent at in recent weeks, 5 metres 20. So after that disappointing Auckland, he almost threatened to give it all up, but thank goodness he hasn't, and he's been jumping really well. Very close, in fact, to 5 metres 30 last week when he was 10th in the European indoors. So Ashurst here won the pole vault. And I'll also tell you there's another field event result. That's the triple jump, which Francis Agyapong, he had 5 no jumps and then produced 16.05 to win the event on his last jump. So he won that event from Aquaboa 15.44, and there was Andy Ashurst winning the pole vault at 5 metres 30. So those are the other 2 field events which have been determined here already today. And the pole vault, which was a little bit low standard overall, but very interesting to see that Keith Stock was in 2nd place at 5 metres, so he looks set to make his 35th international appearance and an international career which began at sea level back in 1975. Keith Stock getting 2nd place again, and young Dean Mellor going well to get 3rd place, equalling his best at 4 metres 80.
Well, I have to say at the moment, I don't think there's a sprinter in the world who can beat Linford Christie. We saw him win over there in Auckland in the Commonwealth Games, came back and won the indoors against East Germany, ran the European indoors up there in Glasgow when he wasn't fully fit and came, or didn't feel like running there, and came away with a gold medal. And here again this afternoon, Linford Christie is a champion once more. In the final of the men's 60 metres, Linford Christie produced it once again when it mattered and proved he's the top man.
So Linford Christie bids to become the first man for 21 years to retain the 60 metres title in these championships. Courtney Rumbold, lane 1, Stephen Gookey 2, Jason Livingston 3, Christie in 4, Ray Burke lane 5, Darren Braithwaite lane 6. Oh, and a tremendous start by the 18-year-old Livingston right in the middle there, and he's heading Linford Christie at the moment, but the great man comes through as expected over the final 15 metres and wins the title for the second successive year. And Livingston well clear in the silver medal position. Darren Braithwaite was third. He makes it all look so easy, Linford Christie, in the sharp contrast, his relaxed style of running to the determined, aggressive style of the little man, Jason Livingston, alongside him there, all in red. But Livingston really gave everything to that race. And for, I don't know, half the race perhaps, he headed no lesser person than Linford Christie. And that's a smashing second place for him.
And a check again on the running time there for Linford Christie, 6.61. Jason Livingston, a personal best of 6.67, was second. Darren Braithwaite was third at 6.75. And also notable in fourth place, Stephen Gookey at 6.79. The women's 800 metres, that ill-starred race when two athletes fell. Dawn Gandy, the winner, in 2 minutes 7.65. Alana Cook in second place. And Liz Francis in third place, 2:10.62. An outsider came in to take the title, Danny Harris of the USA. A new championship best in the men's 400 metres of 46.73. Gary Cadogan fading a little at the end, but close to his best at 47.5. Kermit Bentham third. In the women's 60 metres, Bev Kinch did indeed do just enough to hold off Stephanie Douglas, 7.26. Douglas, again, a personal best, equaling what she did in the semi-final, 7.28. Carmen Smart ahead of Phyllis Smith in third place. And the men's 1500 metres also went abroad to Kip Cheruiyot of Kenya, 3:44.12. But confirmation that Alistair Curry did indeed set a personal best in second place, 3:45.26, as did Tony Spellman in third place, 3:47.82. One race that we haven't seen, Suzanne Gies of Birchfield Harriers won the women's 400 metres in 55.24. From Jennifer Jordan of Essex Ladies second, and Linda Smith of Croydon Harriers took third place.
Okay, that's it for now. Rejoin us at 5:15. We have the world's fastest woman, Merlin Ottey. We've got Scotland's European indoor champion, Tom McKean, and a great battle in prospect over the hurdles featuring Colin Jackson. See you at 5:15.